The New York Jets have made more roster cuts, and Carter Warren is heavily involved in trade rumors with teams interested? All right. We'll talk about it. Boy Green Daily starts now.
I'm going to lose my gosh-darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets. We're built for this shit.
What is going on, everybody? I am Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. Shout out to everybody watching the show. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video, hit subscribe, baby. And we are 80-some-odd subscribers away from 8,000. We're continuing to climb as we get closer to the season, baby. So I appreciate you guys out there in the universe that have been helping the show expand. Boy, is there a lot to get to. There's cuts left and right. We got to talk about those. And Carter Warren and trade rumors. What in the world? Darren Mucci, let that brother cook, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how in the hell there is interest in Carter Warren, but works for me, baby. It works for me. All right, let's go through a couple of different layers here. First off, let's go through the cuts. Let's throw these up. Shout out to Rich Cimini of ESPN. Here we go. The Jets released 7 players yesterday. Technically, they released 1 and waived 6 others. I'll explain what that means in a minute, but here are all the players who were cut. Jamin Davis, linebacker. Defensive end Michael Fletcher. Offensive tackle Liam Fornadell. He's also played a little bit of center, too. Tight end Zach Kuntz. Defensive back Tanner McAllister. And once again, we must hold another moment of silence here for Ricky New York. It's been a tough couple of days for the young man. Lawrence Toafili. Gosh darn it, another Florida State man hits the dust. Okay, let's do a moment of silence for Ricky New York, our Jet listener who represents all things Florida State on this program. Yeah. Well, at least he had that touchdown, right? There you go, Lawrence. Or something. I don't know. He made a couple of plays the last game. So there you go. More people bite the dust for the New York Jets as they make their chase to Tuesday's deadline at 4 o'clock. Every team must reduce its roster from 90 players to 53. And that journey continues for the Jets, who every day have been cutting 6 or 7 players, trading a player here, trading a player there, and moving closer and closer to that line. Now, I'll tell you right off the top rope from this list, with all due respect to Ricky New York, and as soon as I say that, I'm allowed to say whatever I want. Dems to rules, people. You know, no one's surprising here but one player, except one player. Jamin Davis. Jamin Davis got cut? Interesting. I thought he had the path to linebacker 3 to be a spot starter. He bites the dust. Now, interesting. Now, let's explain the difference between releasing and waiving. Some of you may not even know there is a difference. So, if you have less than 4 years of accrued service time in the National Football League, that means in at least 4 seasons you've appeared in at least 6 games, then you are waived, which means you're subject to waivers. The other 31 teams in the NFL will have an opportunity to claim you. If they claim you, they must immediately create a roster spot in the 53 because that's where you go. However, if you're just released, that means you're a veteran, which means you're a vested veteran is the proper term. And you have at least, to my thing I just said, 4 years of service time of at least 6 games apiece and at least 4 seasons. And Jamin Davis checks off that bucket list. So technically speaking, Jamin Davis can immediately sign with another team. So I'm curious what's going on there. And I skipped over Adrian Martinez. I screwed the pooch here. Adrian Martinez, also another player who was waived. He's one of the 6 that was waived. And Jamin Davis was released. So I passed over Adrian Martinez. My apologies, Mr. Martinez. I didn't mean to just sort of, roll over you and not even talk about you. Also, Adrian Martinez, who's at the top of this tweet, he was also waived. Which means for now, the only other quarterback besides Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor on the roster is Brady Cook, We'll do more on that soon, I'm sure. So I saw Alon. I think he was the one who put this in here. Let me throw Alon's comment up. And guys, feel free to make it rain in the comments section. Yeah, I'm curious if this is true. So we bring up Alon's comment here on YouTube. Thank you, Alon. Member of the Boy Green Coffee Club. Salute. Jamin Davis must have a handshake deal with the Jets. So we're about to get into some funky roster gymnastics, folks. It's sort of what happens here in the NFL. So the other players the Jets waived: Michael Fletcher, Liam Fornadell, Zach Kuntz, Tanner McAllister, Lawrence Toafili, and Adrian Martinez are subject to waivers. Any team can claim them, and then the Jets lose them. There's nothing they can do. But the players that are vested veterans, technically, the Jets could do a wink deal. What do I mean by that? The Jets could have pulled Jamin Davis aside. Let's say they actually want him on the team, but they got some other moves to make. So they need to create temporary roster space to make some moves, and they could bring Jamin Davis back in a couple of days. So in a closed room, they could say, Jamin, we're going to cut you, but we 100% want you back. We just got to do some crazy-ass shit over here, which is what happened to Thomas Morstead a couple years ago. The Jets did a wink deal with Thomas. We saw him get cut. We freaked out. And then Thomas gave this cryptic message on social media saying, hey, folks, don't believe everything you read on the internet, basically. And that they ended up working it out around. So maybe that's it, because I thought Jamin Davis was going to be linebacker 3 behind Quincy Williams and Jamian Sherwood. So this is one of two things, potentially. First off, maybe Jamin is just gone, and Marcelino McCrary Ball, perhaps, Francisco Mauigoa, perhaps those guys were just better for them, and they have them higher on the depth chart. Totally possible. Or Jamin Davis, to Alon's point, is making a comeback here shortly. Could also be possible. And we'll see what that means for Brady Cook. Does that mean he won the QB3 job if there was a job to win? Does it mean that another quarterback could be coming to One Jets Drive? A lot of questions, very few answers. But these are the latest cuts that the Jets performed. Shout out to our number one Austrian Jet fan saying Adrian Martinez will shock the world elsewhere. Perhaps. Yeah, we'll see if he gets claimed. I'd probably be surprised if he gets claimed, to be honest with you. Any of these guys, for that matter. Because Adrian Martinez was available to be had all year long on the practice squad. Any team can pluck a player off a practice squad. There's no practice squad protections anymore. Those don't exist. So he was available last year and no one took him. So now they're going to take him? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think so. Good comments. Some people are saying maybe a brain drain. The Steelers can pick him for a week and, try to get anything out of him potentially. Maybe. That's what they want to do. God bless. Take all the information you can. And let's get to the other news. Carter Warren, trade rumors. What in the world? All right. ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler shared this interesting update in the middle of the day yesterday. The Jets have made 3 trades since Wednesday. So, obviously Harrison Phillips they acquired, Jawan Briggs they acquired, and they sent Derek Nottie, return to sender, slapped that on the right butt cheek, and sent him back to Kansas City where he belongs. He was going to get cut, so the fact that the Jets got anything for him, which was a pick swap, which was basically the Jawan Briggs trade in reverse, right? Because the Jets did a pick swap with Cleveland, 6th and the 7th, and now Derek Nottie gives another 6, 7, so it sort of evens out. Works for me. So the Jets made a lot of trades. Jeremy Fowler says they might not be done. Oh, interesting. I'm intrigued. Go on, Jeremy Fowler. They have quality offensive tackle depth that garners interest. One name to potentially watch is Carter Warren, a 4th-round pick from 2023 who has started 6 games. All right. So let's talk about Carter Warren. Thank you, Jeremy Fowler. How do I put this delicately? Carter Warren stinks, people. I'm going to be honest. I mean, he's absolute booty cheeks. I mean, don't take my word for it. Let's take a gander down the road of PFF Analytics, right? For old Carter Warren, he's got 2 years remaining on his $4.5 million rookie contract. We got a full article in the YouTube description down below on all this. But, Carter Warren, in 2 years, he's appeared in 14 games. He has made those 6 starts that Jeremy Fowler indicated. And I believe there are 2 reasons why, 2 reasons why that the New York Jets would look to trade Carter Warren. I believe there are 2 reasons. 2. And let's go through both of them here. First
Number
off,
one,
they've got depth. They do. The starting five, we have Olumuyiwa Fashanu. We've got John Simpson. We've got Joe Tippmann. We've got Elijah Vera Tucker. And we've got Armand Members. That's the starting five. You got those. And then you have depth. You have Josh Myers, 56 starts in his career. You have Chukwuma Okorafor, 60 starts in his career. That top seven's pretty good. You got your five. You got depth. Guys who have done it. You feel pretty good about that. So 7 deep. Not bad. Not bad. So you have depth. So the Jets could be willing to say, hey, man, we're deep. We'll move. We'll move some guys. Now, quick TO. Okay. Normally, NFL teams don't move offensive line. Offensive linemen are always in short supply. Jet fans, we know that better than anybody. Yeah. And yet the Jets are willing to do this. And that takes us to point number two.
Number two,
Again, Carter Warren has struggled when given opportunities. Okay. Straight up. Here are the numbers from his rookie season, according to Pro Football Focus. He finished with a 46.9 overall grade. That was 124th in the league. A 45.5 pass block grade, ranked 111th in the league, and a 49.9 run block grade, which ranked 113th. So at every level of offensive line play, he was 111th in the league or worse as a rookie year. And people would go, Paul, come on, don't rail on the guy. He was just a rookie. Fine. Let's go to year number 2. This past season, he finished with a 44.6 overall grade. That was much worse, 128th. A 34.1 pass block grade. That was much worse, 129th. He did have a 58.4 run block grade, ranked 83rd. And whoa, Paul, progress, right? Well, sure, that's higher than the other number, but I think that's more an indictment of how he performed as a rookie versus how he excelled, quote unquote, as a second-year player. Because here's this. While, yes, Warren was a much better run blocker in year number 2 than year number 1, but he still ranked 83rd. You want to know how many offensive tackles qualified for this report? 140. League average is 70th. He was 13 below league average. So that's a fancy way of saying he has not been very good at all, to be candid. So if the Jets can get anything for this guy, as I just pulled out all those numbers, well, sign me the hell up. Okay? So if the Jets can get anything here, I am all about it. Carter Warren has been absolutely awful for the New York Jets. Now, I see people talking about, depth, right? They're like, whoa, you don't want to be trading away your depth. If my depth looks like that, I want to trade it away. I want to try door number 2. They say door number 1 is Carter Warren. Door number 2 is a mystery box. It could be anything. Well, I'm going to trudge along through door number 2 because the chances that it's worse than door number 1 seem incredibly unlikely based on those numbers. So give me door number 2. I will pursue and try a youngster. Yeah. Thank you, Old Yank. Happy belated anniversary, Mr. Boy Green. I appreciate you. Yes, me and my beautiful queen celebrated 11 years over the weekend. So the fact that she's been willing to put up with me for that long is impressive. And also, how about this, right? This is how you know she the one. Okay. So we're at our anniversary dinner for 11 years. You want to know what we did during our anniversary dinner? We did a fantasy draft together. She's in the league. I'm in the league. We did a fantasy draft in between garlic parm wings. Unbelievable. In the middle of an anniversary dinner. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. So, Yang, thank you very much. And, yeah, she is clearly the one. Abso-friggin-lutely. Yes. RR Jet says Jody misses still adding up. Yeah, the Jets are might be making some moves here. Carter Warren could be on the move next. Incel Alon believes that Brady Cook will end up on the practice squad. They signed another quarterback. Could be possible. We'll see. Now, the good news is as we shared over the weekend, Aaron Glenn, our head coach extraordinaire, said Tyrod Taylor should be good to go for week 1. Very confident. So, excellent. That means we might not need another quarterback. But just in case He will be rusty, as Rich Cimini pointed out. Tyrod Taylor's not practiced since July. That was a month ago. So now, hopefully, we just don't see Tyrod Taylor. So his rust should be meaningless because hopefully we don't have to see him week 1. But yeah. So we'll see if we need another quarterback after all. Jets Worldwide, that's a great point. We got a 6th for Blake Cashman. Anything's possible. Now, Blake has turned his career around. Good for Blake. He's making good money. I believe he's still in Minnesota, where he went to college, so it all works out for him. Yeah, it was just a matter of staying healthy. There was a lot of Madden stuff he liked, the speed and all those kinds of things. But, yeah, he was nicknamed Blake Glassman for all his injuries. So we did get a 6 for him, and he's been able to do some stuff. So good for him. Yeah, that's Troy Sturgis came to the same conclusion. I believe the Jets are waiting to see how cuts turn out. Maybe grab a better quarterback for a third string. Cook will be on the practice squad. Yes, that could be possible too. I wouldn't hate that. Martinez very well could return to the practice squad. The Jets could do that. He has to clear waivers, and once he clears waivers, then he will have a choice. If the Jets offer him a practice squad spot, he could just take that. Or another team in the National Football League could offer him a practice squad spot, and then he picks where does he think his better path is, and then that decision, of course, will be up to Adrian. So we'll see. A lot of varying opinions on Adrian Martinez. Some thinks he stinks. Some people love him. Let's see. NC Green says, I trust AG in picking this roster. Sure. Yeah. Yep. They could. By default, I do. So, for instance, I mentioned Jamin Davis is a little surprising, but hey, he's the defensive guy. So, hey, works for me. Let's bring this up. Fox Sports Talk. Hey, Boy Green, would you be interested in Huntley? Snoop Huntley? Absolutely not. No, I would not be. I wouldn't be interested in Huntley. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Nick Faria, who should be joining us, by the way, at 8 o'clock. So we should be hearing from Nick Faria, our beat reporter from JetsXFactor.com in a little bit. I know he mentioned DTR. I think it was last week. No thanks on both. Give me some Kyle McCord action. I heard he's hitting the streets, I believe, is the report. And, hey, works for me. I'll jump on Kyle McCord. That'd be a nice little developmental prospect. I'd be all about it. Oh, yeah, baby. I would be all about it. Let's see if that happens. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hey, NC Green sent AK or bus baby for BG. Yes, to the 300 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So if you aren't on YouTube, feel free to open up a new tab on your phone real quick and hop on over to YouTube. We have 120 of you 300 plus here on the YouTube. So make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, baby. Again, we have 120 people on YouTube, yet only 36 likes. So people, change that around right freaking now, baby. It's free. It's right there on your screen. Don't be afraid of it. Give it a nice little slap, baby, here on the program. We'd appreciate you. Sweet Caroline, our number one Austrian Jet fan, just gifted 50 Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. Good Lord. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, everybody. You know what to do. Start your engines. Wow.
Kevin James.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Oh my God. 202 raffle tickets this month for our number one Austrian Jets fan. Good Lord, have mercy. Wow. Let's update the ticker because that is gosh darn impressive. 202 raffle tickets for our contest. And it's time to get to reading, Paul. Get your bleeping reading glasses out. Here we go. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Let's scroll up because there's a lot of names here. Okay. Here we go. Oh, wow. Okay, here we go. Here are the 50 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Shout out to our number one Austrian Jet fan. Every time you guys gift a membership, that's a raffle ticket. So 50 more for our number one Austrian Jet fan. We got Charleston Jets Rube, one Sean C., Michael Joseph Belushi, Gary Fuller, he's back. Welcome back, Gary. Big Country 87, welcome back. Ron Weiss, welcome back. Wow, we're getting a lot of big names on here. Mike Perez, Brooklyn in Sync, Peter Castro, Gilbert Farmer, Zoink Nation, welcome back. We've got Can Turgeon. Okay, we got Daniel Diaz, Swamp Ranger, welcome back. Vibrate Higher, good Lord have mercy. Matthew Wright, Oak Tree Man. AJ Soborn, okay. Whitney Gilmore, Carlos Santos, Haitian is a Scout. We have you, okay, that looks like Truman Dumel, Soldier of God, NY Flight Jets Talk, Connor Long's back. Okay, good to see Connor's tall ass in here. Cincy Matt, William Sprague, let's go. Micah Dio162, Darnell Towns, Boss Girl. Okay. Keith Kirkwood, Joe Lissang. Okay, maybe. We've got Matt. We've got James Fitzpatrick. We have James Eubanks. We have B-Star. We have Gilbert Gonzalez. We have Southern Auto Detailing. Okay. We've got Chris Bradigan, Nick Russo here on the chat. Siebel is getting some love here on the chat. Victor Smith, King Lowski, welcome back. Wes Harlem, Jeff Seawald, Jojo Townsell, Mr. Famous Fulton, Freddie McKnight, Dayboss, Adam is Too Cool, Quanon, BP York. There you go. That is the 50 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club, and let it rain from the high heavens, baby. Woo! Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Austrian. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Sweet Caroline. Good bleeping Lord. An unbelievable raining. I did not check the weather report this morning because good night. What a slew of activity. Here you go. Let's throw this up on the big screen, baby. If you're new to the channel, maybe saying, what the hell is going on right now? Well, here you go, baby. All of these items on your screen are eligible to be won. And one lucky person will win all of this on September 1st. Here are all the items up for grabs. We have a random vintage Jets player t-shirt, blast from the past. I think you guys are going to love it. A New York Jets Highland Mint Super Bowl III flip coin. That is a limited edition NFL coin. It's right there on your screen on the left side. It is flashed in 24 karat gold. It is sweet. A New York Jets logo athletic prime hoodie t-shirt and the Kickoff Kitchen cookbook from Super Bowl chef Tim Lopez. That was donated by Badshaw. It has 64 game day recipes, 2 recipes for every team in the National Football League, including your New York Jets, appetizers, entrees. They're terrific. And all of that will be gifted to one lucky winner, baby, on September 1st. How do you become eligible for this? Just spend $3 on the channel. That is all you have to do. All you have to do is spend $3. You could do that via Super Chats. You could do that being gifted memberships. You could join the Boy Green Coffee Club. That's a pinned comment right now on youtube.com/BoyGreen25. So feel free to hop on the train, baby. You get a loyalty badge next to your name, just like our #1 Austrian Jet fan. It's excellent. It is excellent. So just really cool. Really cool. So thank you, Austrian. Good Lord, have mercy. Now, you would think, right? So Austrian has been a massive gifter on this program. And he has not won every raffle. So despite the fact that he's got this massive lead, some people go, well, I guess it's going to Austria. Well, not so fast. It's a random wheel picker. You never know, man. It's up to the wheel gods to see where the prizes go. We've had people win with one raffle ticket before, which is crazy to think. It's just a little sliver when you look at the big-ass wheel, but all you need is a ticket to the dance, baby. Jets Worldwide says Austrian really wants that cookbook. Hey, there are some wonderful things on it, that's for sure. Absolutely. So, beautiful. Thank you, Austrian, for that wonderful gift. Good Lord. Wow. Okay. What a layer of the show here. Hey, now we're getting a member super chat here. Let's go to that. Wow. All right, Mr. Famous Fulton's been a member for 7 months, and welcome back to the Boy Green Coffee Club. He just got a membership from Austrian. Next Sunday is my audition for Singing in the Rain. Well, congratulations, Mr. Famous Fulton, and good luck for that audition. That'll be great. You've been killing it, man. You've been on America's Got, or not America's Got Talent. I always mess them up. American Idol, excuse me, and some of these other singing shows. So great. I'm really proud of you, pal. Really proud of you. Great to see, man. Great to see. Good luck, by the way, the rest of the way. Yeah, that is excellent. Wow. What a 50-pack of Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. Good Lord have mercy. What a way to introduce our next guest, baby, who joins us every Monday at around this time. It is beat reporter for JetsXFactor.com, the handsome face of the franchise for the Riverdale Press, baby. It's Nick Faria here on the program. What's up, Nick?
How's everything going, Paul?
Oh, my goodness. Well, from gifted memberships to people getting cut to people getting traded, it's all over the place. I mean, it's the busy time of the year, I suppose, Nick Faria, with the season right around the corner. I'll start off on this one just because it was a little surprising to me. I wonder if it struck the same tone with you. The cuts yesterday will work most recent and work our way back, I suppose. Jermaine Davis, I thought he was linebacker 3, so that news sort of surprised me here. Did it surprise you?
Well, I want to make it very clear. This does not mean that Davis's time with the Jets is at an end. He's not subject to waivers. He could absolutely be picked up after final cutdowns are made. So it's just kind of that reminder for all fans and sort of analysts that just because a player is released now does not mean his time with the organization is over. Yes, he will have the opportunity to sign elsewhere immediately starting today, as would be the case for any free agent. So he very well could find a new home elsewhere. But just because it seems like McCrary Ball has won the will job, that linebacker 3 job, does not necessarily mean that that is a finished product. It does not mean that that is the final decision. So in reality, yes, it looks like McCrary Ball has won this job. He's going to be the 3rd linebacker. Right, wrong, and different, that's what the Jets look at right now. It could change on Wednesday. It could change on Thursday. It could change next week. Just because the final 53-man roster is done on Tuesday, you have to have it done, I believe, by 4 o'clock, does not mean that everything is actually going to be done, and this is going to be the roster that takes the field for week 1.
Well, first off, Nick, thank you for saying that. Also, thank you for the utilization of Dr. Evil's freaking laser with your quotes. I appreciate you using that because that's interesting. A beautiful segue because one of the, social media responses to some of the cuts yesterday was that Adrian Martinez got waived, so he's subject to waivers. And I was scrolling through the old internet universe, and I'm like, Nick Faria, what does he have to say about this? And you say, hey, Brady Cook, keep your head on a swivel, young man. I'm not so sure you're the QB3, pal. So, Nick, please expand upon that possibility that a lot of people said, wow, Brady Cook's the guy now. Or is he?
Well, and again, it's the same thing here with Davis. Just because it looks like Cook has won the quarterback 3 battle does not mean he's actually won it. The fact that Tyrod Taylor, Aaron Glenn spoke to us on Friday after the Eagles game, saying that we expect him to be ready for week 1. So you're going to have your backup ready to go. Great. Awesome. Well, then that kind of defeats the purpose of needing a quarterback 3 on the 53-man roster at this point. So this, just because Cook seems like he's won the job does not mean that he's actually won the job. He could get released, and the team looks elsewhere. They look at across the other 31 teams that are cutting their quarterbacks and say, hey, we'll take a proven veteran over a UDFA rookie that we just brought up. All those things can be taken into account as well. We're still in the very early stages of roster construction and making sure these teams get down to 53. There's going to be a boatload of cuts today. There's going to be even more tomorrow. I think right now the standing is at 22. Wouldn't be surprised if the Jets try to release, I would say, close to 10 today, 10 tomorrow, that kind of thing, and sort of balance it out. When you add all that together, Brady Cook is not safe. It's just the way it is. You don't have a QB3 that is safe in many retrospects. So, this is nothing against Cook. I do believe that he has been better than Adrian Martinez for most of training camp. His improvement was actually something that was noted consistently. But again, it comes down very quick. It just comes down to the basic question. Do the Jets feel that they can get Brady Cook off of waivers and make sure that he skips through waivers for them on their roster so he can go back on their practice squad? Or do they believe that one of these guys, Martinez or Cook, is going to get that opportunity and they're comfortable with either? It really just comes down to that major question.
We have 400 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe, baby. We have beat reporter Nick Faria, JetsXFactor.com, and the Riverdale Press, and God knows what else. He continues to add to his sterling resume, that's for sure, as we're here on the 25th of August. And I'm curious here, right? So you mentioned that comment, and that to me was a huge sigh of relief because the terminology with Tyrod Taylor, going under the knife, and they said, well, we're hopeful. Well, I'm hopeful for a lot of stuff in my life, Nick Faria, but I don't know exactly how confident I feel about these things I'm hopeful about. So to hear AG over the weekend say, oh, I'm very confident that he's going to be ready to go, that's a relief. I take it a step further, though. According to Rich Cimini, since all this injury stuff happened with Tyrod, basically he hasn't practiced since July. That was a month ago. So there may be a rust factor here. Could that come into play, even temporarily, as Tyrod's coming along, that they say, hey, maybe just for week one, we might want to have a third quarterback on the roster. And then once we know Tyrod's good, okay, QB3, either get lost or go to the practice squad. Could that be in play here in that quarterback conversation?
It could, but Tyrod isn't a normal backup quarterback. He's been around the NFL for over a decade. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, if there's a quarterback that can come off the street and just run a basic offense, I think it's him. I mean, the Jets have one of the better backup quarterbacks in the National Football League. Now, his injuries concern me, certainly. So that's kind of why I look and say, well, Brady Cook may not be safe because the Jets may want another veteran next to Justin Fields in case something happens to him and Tyrod Taylor. That's also consideration. You look what happened with the New York Giants. Taylor was a backup, gets hurt. Tommy DeVito comes in, and for 2 weeks, he lights the world on fire. Not saying that's going to happen this year, but it's kind of in that similar point where just because Tyrod's going to be the backup does not mean that he'll be available for a month. He very well could get hurt as a veteran. But going back to the main question, I don't think it's as much of a concern because he's played in the NFL for so long. He's been a part of different offenses. He'll be able to come in and actually play well, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Because again, the quarterback conversation is always fascinating, and that is for certain here. And again, with some of these cuts, as Nick continues to reiterate here, they may not be what they appear right now. There's a lot of movement that's going to be happening here. And speaking of movement, Nick Faria, I'm going to be honest. When I saw this report, I spit out my drink and went, what? There's a Carter Warren is involved heavily in trade rumors. Carter Warren. What the hell are other people seeing that apparently we haven't seen here on Carter Warren? I thought he was going to get cut. Now it could be in trade rumors. Again, throw this up from ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, a name to watch. Quality offensive tackle depth. There's a lot of word salad being thrown around here, Nick Faria.
Well, I would actually disagree with the word salad part because we need to understand what the NFL is going through.
Okay.
There is a shortage of offensive linemen, of quality offensive linemen around the league. And we can argue all the live long day about what Carter Warren is. I think we all agree he's not a starting tackle. But is he a serviceable backup? I tend to think so. And it's very clear that the Jets believe they can get something for him, whether it's it doesn't really matter what it is, late round pick, whatever.
Sure, right. Well, whatever. Yeah.
There are teams that are desperate, and I mean desperate, for quality offensive line help. Just yesterday, we saw an example of it. Philadelphia, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, had to make a trade because they didn't trust the depth that they had dealt with. So they traded for Fred Johnson, a hero from last year's Super Bowl team. It's kind of in that similar mindset where even if the defending champs aren't happy with the depth on their roster, what makes you think the New England Patriots are? The Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Rams, the Cowboys, any of these other teams. The fact of the matter is, it's very hard to find good offensive linemen now. Very, very hard because defensive lines are so athletic and there's just a shortage of them. And when there is a shortage, even a guy who can play at a C, maybe even C- level in Carter Warren, he brings some value on the trade market. Now, we will see if it's the kind of value the Jets will take and say, hey, we can trade for this guy. But when you have Max Mitchell, when you have a core four, you have that third tackle that you don't necessarily mean at this point. So that makes Carter Warren expendable. And if that's the case, if you can get a draft pick for him, that is just an added bonus for the future of the team.
So maybe you just answer the question on the back end there. So let's say, right to your point, you said you disagree, which is great. I love that on this show. We all have different takes, and you say that Carter Warner is a serviceable backup. Then why would the Jets get rid of him? Because find a way to keep him. If you think he's serviceable, and other teams are clamoring for him, everyone should always look in the mirror. If like teams are lighting your phones up and say we want to trade for that guy. If I was a GM, I would want to take a second look in the mirror. Why the hell does everyone want this guy? Why would I want to get rid of the guy that apparently everybody wants? So, especially at offensive line.
Because he may not be a perfect fit for what they want to be able to do. I think they like Max Mitchell, and the fact that they have a core for as that other additional tackle, it kind of leads people to believe, well, keeping 2 tackles makes a lot of sense. Keeping 3 may be a little bit much. And I know they like Xavier Newman. Obviously, Josh Myers is a quality backup as well. There's going to be questions on if they want to keep another guard, all those things into consideration. Look, there are some teams that have 5 offensive linemen and they don't really know what they're going to do afterwards. That's just the name of the game. That's just the concern that some teams have. The Jets don't really have that. And with Carter Warren now available, maybe that brings one of these teams to the negotiating table.
So what's up with these trades? All right, so let's go. I want to go with the one that just happened. So the Jets slapped the return to sender on the right butt cheek of Derek Nottie and sent him back to the Kansas City Chiefs. They just did this with Mecole Hardman a couple years ago. Now they do it here with Derek Nottie. What's up with the Jets and Chiefs just having this weird relationship where the Jets are the babysitters and just got to watch your kids for a couple weeks and say, all right, you can go back home to your mama. What's going on here?
Oh, there's so many things that happen throughout an NFL season. A team may say, okay, we don't want X player, and then come to find that actually X player is very important to the future of the team and just of what they do. The Chiefs' run defense for many years now has been very, very good. They were a little bit concerned of it going into the regular season this year. So they said, well, let's just bring the guy back in that we know can help us. What it shows is that Darren Muji is very, very smart in what he's doing. The additions of Harrison Phillips, of Braves, being able to upgrade at defensive tackle the way that they did is very, very important for the Jets' defensive line this year. I don't think defensive tackle is going to be as big of a weakness as many thought or were concerned with this time last week or this time 2 weeks ago. And then when you add that all together, well, you gave up some draft picks. How can you recuperate some of those picks? Well, you give away a guy that you're going to cut anyway. Derek Nottie wasn't going to make the final roster. Everyone and their mother had him being cut by Tuesday. So see if you can get some draft capital to it. They did. It's not so much to say, oh, this is a stroke of genius from Darren Muji. It's just a smart move. It's what good general managers do when they have players that they aren't really high on to begin with. And really, to me, I've been impressed with how Aaron Glenn has run his training camp. I've also been impressed with how Darren Muji has built this team in a way that fits their style of play. They're not bringing in, players that aren't going to fit the run-first model. They're not going to bring in defensive players who aren't versatile. The fact they've brought these guys in for young and without any major cap constraints tells me that Muji has a pulse on the roster that I think the previous regime struggled with at times.
So let's talk about this. You mentioned at the beginning, and we'll keep referencing it like a comedian doing a stand-up special where I keep going back to the punchline where today's reality may not be tomorrow's reality. And you mentioned with the defensive tackles, they make these trades. These 2 guys they brought in are making the roster. So 2 jobs that people thought they had, they do not. So we see, obviously Derek Nottie, he's on his way out. That must have been one of the ripple effects. Fedarian Mathis was one of the other ones who was immediately cut. How many defensive tackles are the Jets keeping on this roster? Who else should have their head on a swivel? Because, that reality, there's going to be some ripple effects from moves like this.
Well, the top name right now is Leonard Taylor. A lot of Jet fans are not going to be happy to hear this, but Leonard Taylor played into the 3rd quarter of the final preseason game. That is usually a very bad sign for players that are trying to make the 53-man roster. And yeah, Taylor is probably their best pass rusher at the tackle position outside of Quinnen Williams. I think we all can agree with that. But you need to be able to stop the run. And they clearly are not as high on Leonard Taylor as they were on other players on the roster. I thought Peyton Page had a very good preseason. Same thing with Taylor, but Jay Tufele outplayed him. And that's just the honest truth. Throughout training camp, Jay Tufele outplayed Leonard Taylor. He earned that final roster spot if that's where it comes down to be. So to me, the one guy that's got to keep his head on a swivel is Taylor, because when you're playing in that final preseason game, you want to be able, if you're even playing a little bit, you want it to be a series or two, get in, get out, and nothing really happens. The fact that he played into the second half is usually not a very good sign for those kinds of players.
Speaking of that very theme, let's get into that, because that's the thing that sort of surprised me. Because, like, at the beginning, like, what a roller coaster the Jets training camp is, right? At the beginning of training camp, I'm like, Andrew Beck, this guy is going to make the roster. Then all of a sudden, I see preseason week 2. Okay, this guy's clearly making the roster. And then he's playing in this preseason game against the Eagles. I'm like, he is? He isn't. He is? He isn't. I'm like doing the rose petal thing. He lets me. He lets me not. He lets me. What is going on here? I thought Andrew Beck was the guy, and now he's playing in this preseason game. That would seem to indicate exactly what you just said, that maybe perhaps he's not even safe.
Well, I think he is safe.
Okay.
Specifically because he's the only one on the roster that is in that position.
Yeah.
They don't have another fullback out there waiting for him. He was the first free agent pickup by Muji. And also, he's a pretty damn good player, and he fits what the Jets want to be able to do. Because if they're going to be a run-first team, you want to have a fullback, and you've got one of the better ones in the NFL, one of the last few in the NFL. So all those things taken into account, I think he's going to be safe. I do question his versatility as a blocker. I think is very, very strong, because you saw some clips in, again, the Philly game. You saw some clips in the Giant game. He's a pretty damn good pass blocker. And if that's the case, if he's a good pass blocker and a run blocker, maybe you try him out for the third tight end spot. Maybe Jeremy Ruckert isn't as safe as we once thought. Again, I'm not saying that that's going to actually be the case. Maybe they say we want to keep 3 tight ends. We like what we have in Ruckert, and we want to keep our fullback. Maybe that's in consideration too. There are a lot of different ways that this can go, but the H-back fullback position can also be that third tight end. And if that's the case, one of those tight ends has to go. And I think all of us and our mothers can pretty much suggest if there's a tight end to be released, who that may and probably should be.
I wonder. Well, I'll put that on the back burner for now. Give me some short-term IR candidates here, because with a recent rule change, the Jets and every other team in the National Football League are eligible to put a maximum of 2 players on short-term IR, which means that they wouldn't have to carry these players through that roster cut deadline on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. They could do it ahead of time. So, long story short, that complicated bunch of garbled words I just said means that, they wouldn't have to cut a guy because they'd have to keep him to place him on the IR. They'd have 2 spots to play with. Who are the candidates for that in your mind? Because there's a few Jets players who've been injured for a couple of weeks here, and they've got more than 2. So who are the 2 going to be used on, do you think?
And again, this is just pure predictions.
Of course.
If there's a path for it, it's probably Lazard and Cowart.
All right.
Maybe. I know they're high on Cowart. It doesn't sound like it's too serious for them. But potentially for Alan Lazard, I think his name could be there. You could also be cut. You could also, you could be traded. Yeah. All those things, take it in. So it's probably one of those 2, whether it's Cowart, whether it's Lazard. One of those 2 guys will probably be on short-term IR.
One of the other names, and I don't know if this is just floating out there because you've been injured for a couple of weeks, but Isaiah Davis, is that one serious enough? Because for those who don't know, short-term IR means they'd be gone for the first month of the season minimum, and then we'd see if their injuries obviously were more serious than that, they could be out longer. But is Isaiah Davis seriously in the running for this, or is that just rampant, wild speculation?
I haven't heard anything. It's more just speculation.
Okay.
We'll find out more probably on Wednesday. Could even find out a little bit today from reporters that are going to be there. So it just comes down to what the Jets want to see and how long they think they're going to be out. Look at Tampa Bay. Tristan Wirfs, beginning of training camp, people thought that he'd be out for a good 3 months. They didn't put him on the PUP list, so he could be back week 1. He could be back week 4. It doesn't look like they're going to put him on IR. It looks like they're just going to carry him on the roster and see how quickly it takes for him to get healthy. And that can happen as well.
All right. Last one here before we go to the phone lines. So the big thing that's coming is everyone's cutting their roster down to 53, reducing it to 53 by 4 o'clock on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And then 20 hours later, all the waiver wire claims will be submitted by that noon time frame. And all of a sudden, more breaking news will be coming. My question to you is, what positions are the Jets going to be hovering on in the waiver wire period? Do you believe Muji's going to be aggressive with these waiver claims? They have a unique position, of course, having 7th overall waiver wire priority, which is a chance to add players if they want to add players. Do you expect them to be aggressive? And if so, what position should Jet fans be circling here?
Well, clearly Darren Muji has shown that he is willing to be aggressive. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to add bits and pieces to this roster. Compared to what position, I would assume edge rusher is probably an easy bet, just because there's not a lot of depth there. Right. You could see an argument for receiver, and you could also see an argument for QB3. I keep throwing the name DTR out there, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. People look and say, well, he's not a good passer. He's not a good quarterback. Of course he's not, because that's why he's quarterback 3. We're not asking him to go out there and be QB1. We're asking him to be QB3. And when you're a third quarterback on a roster, you need to be able to match what the starter and the backup do. If the Jets were to sit there and say, Brady Cook is great, but we'd rather, have him on the practice squad. We may want to see him, what he looks like another year away. Maybe we just keep him off the practice squad entirely. And they bring in a guy like DTR. That will purely be based on if Justin Fields, if Tyrod Taylor go out, who can run our run-first philosophy? Who can operate this offense where we're not turning the ball over and we're handing it off 30, 40 times a game? You want a running quarterback in that mindset. Well, there's not many out there that are going to be cut like that, and DTR would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and to your point, just to add another layer to it, with that run-first thing, I imagine, again, we're all speculating here on what the offense is going to be. There's going to be some read options, some RPO options. If you had a quarterback that couldn't run, and I'm a defensive end, and I have to make a choice between, is he keeping this or is he handing it off? I'm like, this guy who has the mobility of a parked car isn't holding on to the ball. I'm slamming on the running back every gosh darn time until they prove it. Now, if it's, to your point, a DTR or something, like, ooh, I got to make a choice. If I go after this running back, there's a big chance this guy could come around my tuchus and I look like an idiot. So that's another part of it, too, with the choice from the Jets, right, of keeping the offense the same. Because if that's the offense, you would want someone that could run that portion of it, too, Nick.
And again, I want to preface, this is not me saying that he's going to walk in week 1 to be the starting quarterback.
Right.
They're not good. They're not good quarterbacks if they're QB3. We all understand that. Yeah. But when you have a backup, you want to make sure he fits the system you're already running, because then the terminology doesn't have to change. You make it easier for your offensive line, make it easier for your receivers, your running backs, your tight ends. When all of that comes together, it makes it a little bit more simple to run the offense. When you bring in a guy that is running a completely different system or needs a different system, that changes a lot of the problem. And that's where I look and say, well, as good as Brady Cook is, we haven't seen him scramble around as much. Maybe they look and say, we'd rather just have a QB3 that fits that run-first offensive philosophy better.
Again, we've got nearly 500 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe, baby. It's about to be participation trophy time, baby. Do you want to call in and ask Nick a question or compliment him on his style choices? Well, now is the time to do so. The phone lines are open after this.
Boy Green Daily, Daily. Talking Jets football, man. Boy Green Daily, Daily. New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Jets. Let's go.
Heard it there from Fox Sports Talk. Sing it, Hep. Oh, God, those lovely pipes. No question about it. If those were available on the waiver wire, I'd be scooping those up right quick like, baby. Again, we're here on Boy Green Daily. It's myself. It's beat reporter Nick Faria here on the show, and your phone calls are welcome. That is a pinned comment on youtube.com/boygreen25. We'll be on here for a little bit answering your questions. I see this one coming in from Alon. And this is the question I think all of us are asking, right? So you say edge rusher could be a position that makes sense. I concur. So Alon says, hey, Nick, what about Eagles land? Any edge rushers hanging around that could be available that would make sense here with the NYJ?
I wouldn't target any edge rusher from Philly that they cut, mostly because that's probably their weakest position on the roster this year. Yeah, I wouldn't touch anyone that gets cut by Philly from the edge perspective. Yeah, they're not the team to do that. There are going to be other players around the NFL that could be cut. You keep an eye on, but it's the weakest spot. If these guys can't make the roster on that team, on that position group, it tells me all I need to know.
Yeah, that's very fair. By the way, speaking of Eagles, did the Eagles really cut my boy Kyle McCord? Did he get waived?
I assume he's going to. He was not good this preseason or camp at all.
And the Sam Howell trade, and you guys have Tanner McKee. So, okay, it sort of lines up in that direction for sure. This is a reverse question, but it just sort of hit me. Do you anticipate any Jets players being claimed off of waivers that get cut by someone else?
That's a great question. Let's think. I mean, I could see if they cut Brady Cook that he could get picked up.
Interesting.
If Jarek Bernard-Converse doesn't make the team, certainly a possibility that he gets picked up.
Okay. What about, is Malachi Corley on that list?
Well, sure, but I think that's going to be one team that picks him up, and it's really nobody else, and it's going to be the 49ers. They need receiver help, and you can't go out there and have this is what was so crazy about this, all right? So I do believe that Malachi Corley can be a good and serviceable NFL player. He gets drafted by the Jets in the 3rd round, and they spent all early day 2 trying to get him in the 2nd round, trying to trade up. They trade into the 3rd round, and they pick him. And their coach and GM both have a text chain that says, no matter what, we're getting this kid. And in 1 week, it essentially was, oh, well, he's not ready. Okay, he's not ready. The knock on Corley was that it was going to take some time.
Right, Western Kentucky, for God's sakes.
It was always going to take time. He wasn't a good route runner, but neither was Brandon Ayuk. Neither was Deebo Samuel. What the 49ers did was they created a system for them to operate in a positive light. The Jets essentially sat there and said, well, we have Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to cut corners as much as we can because we have Aaron Rodgers. So instead of developing the young receiver and getting him touches and getting him this, he wasn't a good route runner. So the Jets coaching staff threw their hands up and said, we're done with him. We don't need him. Okay. You get in. You bring in a new coaching staff. There are absolutely no ties with Aaron Glenn to Malachi Corley. Same thing for Darren Mushi. So clearly he's on the fence. No one really knows what's going to happen to him. And then he gets hurt. In reality, I would argue and say that Malachi Corley hasn't really gotten a fair shot to be a serviceable player, because last year the Jets coaching staff was only caring about their jobs, trying to win as many games so they could save their jobs. This year, the regime said, well, you need to be healthy, and he wasn't. It happens. It happens all the time to young players. It's very rare that drafted players only get a year with their team. Very, very rare. And I get there are some character concerns. He's a little immature. He's still very young. All those things have to be taken into account. But this guy was the Yak King in college. The coaching staff all wanted him before the draft process. And the minute they drafted him, they said, he's not a good route runner. Doesn't really fit us. He made a bad mistake in a regular season game. So let's put him in the doghouse for the rest of his rookie season.
Very good.
What logical tangent point shows that? So I get all the concerns they have. And again, this is not to say that he has deserved a right to make the 53-man roster. Very clearly, he's going to get cut because he hasn't been healthy enough and he hasn't been good enough, plain and simple. But this is now his 2nd coaching staff in 2 years. Mm-hmm. And what do you want? Not every player is fit for the Jets' current culture. That's okay. But to sit here and say that Malachi Corley was given a fair shot his rookie year, that's not accurate. They threw Aaron Rodgers in there and said, make it work with this guy. Rodgers said no. The coaching staff said, okay, thank you. We tried. Goodbye. It's not fair to Corley. It's not fair to the development team that went out and drafted him and went through that entire process, understanding what his weaknesses were, and then just threw their hands up and said, well, we tried. That's inexcusable from an NFL draft perspective. It's a big reason why the regime is no longer here. This coaching staff is willing to work with young players, but it's also fair that Malachi Corley wasn't healthy enough and he never was able to get comfortable in this new system. So he will most likely be cut. I expect him to get picked up by the 49ers, and I do expect him to have somewhat of a role with San Francisco in an offense that kind of fits what he's always needed in that sense.
All right, we'll see where that goes. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Hep joined us here on the show. What's up, Hep?
Hey, Nick. Hey, Paul. Hey, fellas. Hey, Nick, I'm curious. What's up with Clowney?
Jadeveon Clowney?
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney. Why is he a free agent? Why hasn't he signed yet?
Oh, probably because he's old.
Oh.
He's dealt with injuries before, and he's a mercenary. So
Right,
if
well, we
you
know
if
that.
you need an edge rusher, to pick up some sacks, and you're worried about your edge, then you pick him up. But you're not picking him up yet. You pick him up if your team is close to a Super Bowl or contending for a Super Bowl. Not at that point.
Gotcha. As far as the Corley situation, I think part of the problem was he didn't. As a rookie, you're supposed to collect all the pads, bring all the pads into the locker room. He refused to do that. And the thing he did with, as far as holding out for the number 17, I don't care about that. He got an extra $100,000 out of Devontae. Devontae can afford it, so I'm not really. But I think it's more of the attitude is they're
Sure.
worried about that. Yeah.
I'm not denying it. He has been immature through this process as well. And he hasn't produced. All of that taken into account, he's going to get cut. I think if you ask anyone, he's going to get cut, and most people aren't going to argue against it. I am saying, and what my point is, his rookie year was a failed experiment by the coaching staff. The coaching staff failed him because they didn't really put him in a position where he felt that his talents were being used in a proper way. And then he was like, well, wait a minute, you drafted me. You made all these comments about how I was the guy you've always wanted. I was the fourth receiver or whatever number it was last year. And now you're sitting here saying you have no idea what to do with me? What the hell is this? I think it would frustrate a lot of young players in that sense, because your career gets stunted because the coaching staff is lazy. And I don't think that's wrong to say, because quite frankly, what are you doing with this kid? You drafted him and then you said, actually, we don't really like him. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There was immaturity to that, which causes those issues as well. And he's not absolved from any of this, but at the same time, he's going to be playing on his couch in the next week or so. So I don't necessarily think it's that big of a deal to begin with.
I think a lot of players were frustrated last year. I mean, G-Dub was frustrated. I mean, even Sauce. A lot of players were making business decisions last year. They saw what was going on. The writing was on the wall. Anyway, do you think you see anybody who we might get? Any surprises that might shake loose that we might be pounce on?
Well, the surprises only happen, I would say, right around Tuesday, where some of the veterans come in. I mean, one of the bigger surprises was the trade for Harrison Phillips.
Oh, wait, is there breaking news?
Harrison Phillips, because it was clear that he was going to get cut by Minnesota anyway. So being able to pick him up, it was really a very smart decision by Darren Mushi to begin with, because that is a really good player, a really good run stopper, and has been throughout his career. So I look at the Phillips trade as sort of the big surprise, at least at this point, because he was going to get cut anyway, and his release would have been a surprise because he's been such a huge player for Minnesota for many years.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Paul.
There he is, Hep with a pair of nice reefs. Very nice. All right. Anytime, any season. That's what I always say. All right, everybody. We got 600 plus people in the room. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, especially you animals on YouTube, baby. Hit that like button. We're trying to get to triple digits. I see we're at 90 likes, but 170 people in the room. Again, the math ain't mathing. Come on now. Hit that like button. Let's go. All right, this is one of Nick Faria's favorites. He is of the esteemed Jets world. Let's bring him in. It's Johnny Boy. What's up, Johnny?
BG, good morning. Nick, good morning,
Hi,
man. So we making the wild card, or we're not making the wild card?
Listen, I'm going to be quite honest with you. The minute I walked into the Nets game where they were up 6-0 and gave up 9 runs in the fourth, I tuned out. I can't do this anymore. I can't watch incompetent pitchers unable to throw strikes. In the major league level, you should be able to throw a single strike and throw another strike and throw another strike. If you get hit, tattooed, all those things, it happens. But if you're walking the bases loaded every freaking time you're coming up to pitch, you're not worth my time. And until that changes, the Mets are not worth my stress or time.
100%. So I wanted to touch really quickly on the Corley stuff. I was a big Corley guy. I thought that with the right coaching staff and they put him in the right scheme, he was going to be something maybe dynamic of a player that the Jets haven't had in a long time. Completely wrong on it. I think there's a lot more to the story that's not really going to be told yet until probably he's gone. For me, seeing him in the preseason, when I'm seeing a Pritchett, when I'm seeing a Smith, when I'm seeing these other players excelling against second stringers, third stringers, but you put Corley in and he's not.
Sure.
That was a big tell story for myself, and I was like, he's not it. You know, he was given a little bit more opportunities this time around, and he just couldn't grab it. So
you got to, and that's the other thing. I'm not, again, not disagreeing with the fact that there are character concerns. He clearly was a little immature coming into the situation. Clearly was a little immature when they traded for Devontae Adams. All that taken into account. I get it. We also have to acknowledge that the previous coaching staff did nothing really to help him to this point, really put him in a position to succeed. He made one mistake, and the Jets coaching staff said, screw you. You're not a shiny toy anymore. That takes it into account. And then he gets hurt during OTAs, so he can't really go through the development part, the learning of the system part. And that's a huge, it's a huge issue for a young player like this to have to learn a new system and then be unable to do so because you're dealing with an injury. So, yeah, the writing's on the wall. The writing's been on the wall. I would argue that it's not just about what Malachi Corley isn't and what he didn't do, and more so about what the organization as a whole did last year.
Agreed. I did want to talk to you guys about a couple of other positions.
Yeah.
So the linebacking depth core of it. It's not really being talked about as much because Sherwood and then it's Quincy. After that, it really, do you think they make any other moves for that? With the Carter Warren, maybe they get something out of Detroit because of that. Detroit is hurting on the line right now, if I'm not mistaken. Wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, and let me ask that specifically to you, Nick. That idea of what Johnny just said, right? So Derek Nani gets flipped. It's a pick swap here. All right, Harrison Phillips gets flipped. It's a this. What about a player-for-player swap, right? Two teams, like as Johnny's indicating here, one team sort of lacking here, one team sort of lacking there. You trade players that are basically like maybe 26-year-old offensive tackle for 26-year-old linebacker or something. Just go, hey, maybe they'll work out better in our opposite situations. Is a player-for-player swap possible with a maybe team that's offensive line needy?
Sure, but I don't think that's usually what happens at this time. I think it's more of a pick swap, if anything. And then when it comes down to it, so you mentioned Carter Warren trading him for a linebacker. Linebacker's not a big need here, guys. It's just not. I have them keeping 4 at this time. It's just not. When you have 2.
Kiko and McCrary Ball are the extra 2?
I would say McCrary Ball and then probably Kiko is probably the 4.
Okay.
Again, flip a coin, whatever.
Sure.
I just don't think you have to worry about a position group when you've got 2 All-Pro, Pro Bowl caliber players at the position. And Sherwood's been very durable. Quincy Williams has been durable. There's no real need to be concerned at this point about the depth at linebacker. And again, I made this point before. There are positions of lesser value that you really shouldn't overly concern yourself with. You think about positions of high value, offensive line, quarterback, receiver, corner. Positions of lesser value, safety, linebacker, tight end. In the Jets' case, the tight end position is going to be a lot more important. That's why they drafted one in the second round. When I look at the linebacker position, if you've already got 2 guys that are really, really good, and you've got a third guy that you somewhat trust in a way, McCrary Ball, that could be the case. I just don't think that's where you need to worry about at this point.
And then the last position, it's a position that I think we've been talking about pretty much all off season, and it's the wide receiving room. Do you see them making any moves? And if so, who? Because I know there was talks about the kid from the Colts, right?
Alec Pierce, right?
At some point. Anything else you think out there that potentially could?
We heard Tim Patrick, too. That's another name. Detroit Lions guy, because he was the target a bunch of months ago. Apparently, he's back in the rumor mill. A lot of Jets people connecting him to the Jets, so that's another name. Anyone else, Nick?
Okay, so I want to preface this. I'm
right.
very much against the Jets acquiring a second receiver. Very much against it. And it's simple math. If
Okay.
Justin Fields averages 420 attempts this year for a full 17-game season, 420.
All 420.
All right, subtract 420 by 150 because that's around what Garrett Wilson does on average, right?
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's 300.
I'm with you. Okay.
Brees Hall averages around 90 targets a year as a receiver. So let's take away 90.
It's 90. Okay. All right.
That's 210. Mason Taylor is your number one tight end. You think
Sure,
for
yeah.
a rookie tight end who's going to have high volume, let's say 60, 70 targets? Is that fair?
65. Sold. Boom. Okay.
65.
Okay. All right. Carry the 2. Okay. All right. All right.
So
I'm already
145.
lost.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. John, you got this, Nick. You got this, Nick.
Those-
Okay. Go ahead.
Those three targets.
Yeah.
145 targets for the Jets to dish out to a backup tight end, other
Perfect.
running backs, and other receivers. If
Plenty.
we're to
Great.
split this up into 4,
Yeah.
145 divided by 4. I'm not very good at math, so I have my calculator out.
45. Okay.
That's about 36 targets.
Okay. Great.
36 targets is not enough for a wide receiver, too. Even if you're giving him 70, do you want this guy that's probably going to get 30, 35 catches, giving up significant draft capital for him?
Yeah. I see what you're saying on that.
Yeah. I don't see what you're saying. I sort of got lost on the first equation, but I get the general gist. I think. Yeah.
The numbers aren't there, and that's just essentially what it is. I'm sorry for the math this early in the morning, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to make sure the numbers add up. And do you want to give up draft capital for a guy like Alec Pierce, who's only going to get, I would say, maybe 50 touches this year, maybe? Justin Fields, he targets the wide receiver 1, he targets the tight end 1, and then he books it out of the pocket and runs. The wide receiver 2 is going to be technically weapon number 4 on the Jets offense, and that's just not enough.
Okay, let me throw one thing out there. So your math is math. I won't say anything about math because there's nothing I possibly could say. But this, right? So what you say is true, right? Wide receiver 1, tight end 1, this. He added it all up. But here's the wrench in the plan that I don't even want to say because I don't want to jinx anything. But what if Garrett Wilson gets hit by a bus? Your wide receiver 2 is Josh Reynolds, Al Lazard, all of a sudden. So I get your point. If everyone's fully healthy, Garrett, where's the meat on the bone? But what if all of a sudden our pants get dropped in week 3 and Garrett's not there for some reason? Who in God's green earth is going to be stepping up in that role of 150 target eater? Because if Garrett's gone for any period of time, which by the way he has been, he's been captain healthy, which I've appreciated. 3 years, all the games appeared.
Knock on wood, BG.
Knock on everything, right? I'm not trying to jinx anything, but I'm just saying that's, I think, the part of the conversation for this wide receiver 2 thing that people aren't talking about. That what if any injury happens, all of a sudden, you poke the Pillsbury Doughboy right in the belly button, all that air is coming out real quick like.
You're not going to throw the ball as much to begin with.
Guess not.
If Garrett Wilson goes down, you're not really throwing the ball, man. It's just what it is. And the other side to this coin that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
If they were, let's say they trade for Alec Pierce.
Sure.
Let's say they say it.
Yeah.
They have essentially 4 to 5 practices to get him acclimated to the offensive system. That does not mean that he's going to have great chemistry with Justin Fields right away. It's going to take time. So if you're trying to make that deal, you want to have a player that's going to make an impact right away, particularly if you're giving up semi-decent draft capital in return. Not every deal is going to cost a 6th and a 7th. Some fans may want it that way, but that's not always reality. So when you add that together and you say, well, can Alec Pierce be ready to go for a week and a half of practice? That's kind of too short. If you're going to make a deal for a wide receiver 2, then you should have done it at the beginning of camp. That's really just the reality of the situation. They wanted to see what they had in the receiving core. If they still didn't like it, well, then you wait until the deadline. Or you just, in general, look at your quarterback and say, well, he's not really going to target the wide receiver 2 position, so we don't really have to worry as much about these kinds of guys. I do think there's going to be a role for Arian Smith. I do think there's a role going to be for Josh Reynolds and Tyler Johnson. And the scheming ability that has that Tanner Engstrand is, where he comes from in Detroit, he'll be able to scheme guys open. But the fact of the matter is the scheme is going to be open for Garrett Wilson before anyone else. And it's just not enough. There's not enough time and there's not enough resources to warrant a trade for a wide receiver 2 at this point.
Fair enough.
Well, Nick, BG, appreciate you guys. I will say this for Corley, don't let the door hit you, you know where. I still believe, let's go Mets.
All right,
And September 7th, if any bus is going to be hitting anybody, should be Quentin Williams into Rogers. So with that being said, I'm out.
All right, there he is, Johnny Boy, LGM. Salute, sir. All right, Nick, let's wrap it up here. Again, another shout out to the 600 people that are in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe if you guys are watching on YouTube. At the start of the show, we were 80 some odd subscribers away from 8,000. So if you guys are watching right now, make sure you go to youtube.com/boygreen25 and hit the gosh darn subscribe button, baby. If you're not, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, hop on over, open up a new tab and do that immediately. We're chalking New York Jets every single day. Nick, anything else? Anything from your notebook that you sort of want to empty out today? Because again, the cut day is tomorrow at 4 o'clock, but it seems like, to your point, the Jets around this 4 or 5 o'clock right before dinner, like, all right, here's some more cuts for you animals. And here's a couple. We've had 6 or 7 over the last couple of days. So anything else today for Jet fans that we should be watching out for with all this hoopla going on?
Well, sticking at receiver, the conversation between the former UDFAs and current UDFAs, Quentin Skinner, Jamal Pritchett, Brandon Smith, all three are a little bit different. I think if there's one that earned a roster spot that is safe at this point, I think it's probably Pritchett because Xavier Gibson has been dealing with injuries, all the issues there. I think Pritchett earned that kind of role to begin with. Then you come down and say, okay, well, is it Brandon Smith or Quentin Skinner? If they were to keep that extra receiver, if they were to keep that, there's no guarantee in either way. So while Brandon Smith and Skinner both played very, very well in the preseason, they both played well in camp. Just because players perform well does not mean that the roster is safe. Just because they happen to have those kind of days does not mean that the Jets staff is required to keep them on the roster. So I think people need to understand that. And also, as the reminder, what the team looks like on Tuesday after cuts is not what the team is going to look like week 1 when they play the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a lot of different changes to the roster that will eventually happen. There are going to be other releases. Last year, the Jets kept Jason Brownlee for a day, a single day, and then they cut him.
Yeah.
And they put him on the practice squad.
Yeah.
These things happen. It is the nature of the position, nature of the league, and people just need to understand that it is not the end-all, be-all if Brandon Smith or Quentin Skinner do not make the roster as wide receiver 6. We are talking about special teams guys that are going to be inactive on game day. That's essentially what we're arguing about here. Who do you want to look better on the inactive list for week 1? That's essentially what we're looking at. That all needs to be taken into account as well.
Tell that to your comment section in 7 hours. Nick Faria, all right, pal? Oh, God. But good advice, because, I'd hate to be that 54th guy on the roster, right? Woo, I made it. Nope, just kidding, I didn't. Here's your cardboard box.
Cut tomorrow for another guy. Joe Schmo got released by the Packers.
Right, waivers, Jesus. I mean, what hey, I guess that's the business that these NFL people sign up for, obviously, but good Lord. Nick, I appreciate you always sharing your insights and getting into it with all of our callers. It's always a lot of fun. So thank you, pal. And hey, a week from today, we'll be previewing Jets Steelers. What in the world? Oh, boy, this is going to be wild. I love it. Yeah, it is. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
There he is, Nick Faria, our beat reporter from JetsXFactor.com. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. And seriously, I do want to give a quick shout-out and just say this. It's super cool, man, that we're getting closer and closer to 8,000 subscribers. Like I said, before the show, we're like 80-something away, and we have 600 people in the room right now. Specifically, we've got 200 of the 600 on YouTube. So, guys, Thank you so much for the support. It's been awesome. I'm ready for an awesome year. We're going to have all kinds of content here on this channel beyond just the live shows in the morning. So I hope you guys can be a part of it. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with us. And another massive salute to our #1 Austrian Jet fan. And I see on the way out, we got a couple of shout outs here from our guy Addison here, baby. 420.
Wow.
All right, and one more here. Let's throw this one up as well. Georgie! Let's get a little Georgie action.
Wow.
WCA. Georgie, appreciate you, pal. Thanks, everybody, for your super chat membership shout-outs, and we will see you tomorrow morning on Boy Green Daily. God bless, and take care.